Okay, cool. As Hattie said, here's the attendance. I'm sure you all filled it out. So welcome to the intermediate lesson. It's lesson 3. Don't be confused. It's still week 1. We're just skipping lessons 1 and 2 because that's what the beginner track does. So today we're covering JSX and introducing React. So as a review, these are the 2 lessons we're skipping. We're assuming you guys already know it. You don't have to know it like really in depth. You just have to know enough to be able to get around. And we can help you with the rest. And so then we're starting on week 3, and that lets us have 2 extra weeks to cover more stuff, to do more of a in-depth final project. And we have help available every week. Obviously Saturday at 3:30. It's going to be here, I believe, every Saturday. The recorded sessions will be up on Sunday normally, and our review hours this semester, it's every Wednesday, 6 to 7 p.m. And you can ask questions in Slack every day. So Hadi is the lead TA, the mentor. He was talking in the other room. I'm Sam and Nishant in the back, and John was in the other room as well. And before we begin, hopefully all of you are at least in the Slack. If you're not, just go to this link and sign in. And if you're not in the Brightspace, that's okay. You can DM Hadi on Slack, or you can email him, or you can ask in one of these 2 channels, and he'll get that figured out for you. And let me show you something on the Brightspace real quick. What's weird for me is in my spring 2022, I don't see Software Saturdays. You have to go to the All tab, and then you can see it. So you might already be in it, and you just don't know if you can't see it. So once you're in it, go to the content, and then spring 22 ReactJS, week 1. And this is the stuff for us. Actually, all 4 of these, I'll get to the checkpoint submission later. But yeah, slides are here. Follow along with that. The code, this takes you to a link to the GitHub. And just note that every lesson is in a new branch. So if you start in the master and you don't see any code, just switch branches to whatever lesson you want to get to. And you can follow along with the code as well for the demos. For that. And then last thing for our last checkpoint, we have a submission. It's totally optional. Obviously, there's no grades in this class, but if you want feedback on the code you've written to see, how well you've learned the concepts, you can submit it and we'll look at it and we'll provide you guys feedback on how you're doing with that. So chat, I'm not in the right. Yeah. Are you on Slack? As long as you're on Slack, just DM Hadi or in one of the Slack channels. Just asking about it. I'm not sure actually how to get people in. You said, okay, then you should be good. I'll get back to you with that after the session. Okay, and with that, I think we can start. Okay, yeah, so you all should have a text editor. I use Visual Studio Code. I like it a lot. You can use whatever you want though. And yeah, there's the GitHub. And if you don't have Node.js and NPM installed, we'll give you time to do that later. Basically, you just need version 16, and it lets us create a React project. Okay, so part 1, getting into it. JSX, what is it? It's literally just HTML and JavaScript. That's literally all it is. It's powerful though, because you can use JavaScript variables and functions and objects and stuff like that with your HTML. So it can be dynamic display. And it also allows us to create custom HTML tags so you can have reusable code, smart code. So it's really nice. And the syntax to write JSX, it's literally just HTML, like I said, assigned to a JavaScript variable. That's it. And you normally use const because it's not going to be changing. But if it is, just use let. Never use var because I can introduce bugs. The syntax, so you can nest just like with HTML. Personally, I don't think this is very readable. I think that it's better if you have multi-line JSX, which I will get into. Yeah, so that's nesting. And part 2 is Node.js. Also, sorry, I'm going kind of quick because I believe it's better learning by doing instead of just learning by me talking about it. So that's why I'm going kind of quick. You can always reference these later. We have the slides up. So also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you want me to slow down, let me know. And yeah, okay. Node.js is basically a toolbox. Lets us do a lot of cool things with React. And NPM is it helps us run libraries and programs, like React. And you can also look up the commands online, or we'll give them to you, so don't need to worry about that. And so it's setting up your computer. In the terminal, you'll need to run these two commands. Node v should output version 16 point something, and npm for me it was version 8. I'm not sure if that matters though, but I do have a document in here that you can click on. Should take you to a Google Doc, going step by step. And yeah, once you have Node and npm installed, you just run this command right here. That's how you create a React project. And once you've created it, you do change directories into the folder, and then you just run npm start, and then it boots up a live server on, I believe on default, it's localhost 3000, and it has live reload on save, so that's nice. And it says here, so yeah, after you do npx, after you do that terminal command, you don't have to do it again. You'll just need to do npm start in the folder. So let me show what that looks like in our first demo. Okay, so what you see here, this is lesson 3. This is after I ran the command. Let me show you what this outputs. So this is a successful install of Node and npm. That's what you should get, something like that. Emphasis on the 16 here. The rest doesn't really matter. And then, so yeah, then you would just do your npx. That lesson 3, I believe that's what it was. Yeah, and then once you create that, it's going, it might take a while. On my desktop at home on Windows, it takes like 3 minutes, but on here it took like 30 seconds. I don't know why, but on Mac it was a bit faster. So basically it might take a little bit longer to initialize. Yeah. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, the slide. Oh yeah, true. If you're not on Brightspace, then actually, yeah, how many people are not on Brightspace? Raise your hand. Everyone's on Bright. Oh, okay. Then yeah, just go to just look at the lessons here. But yeah, feel free to take pictures as well. But yeah, just for future reference, the PDF of the slides should be here. So yeah. Okay, and I also want to note we removed some of the files. So like you'll have app.test.js and also some other stuff at the end of the index.js file. We won't need that. I'm also not sure what the stuff is for, to be honest. But yeah, we deleted that from the lesson 3 demo code that's up on the GitHub. This is it. So yeah, just know that that'll be the difference between what you see on your in your files when it creates the project versus what you see on the GitHub. So that's how you set it up. Just these 2 commands, and then the third command, which could take 3 minutes or whatever. And then yeah, then once you lesson 3 npm start, what did that not work? Really weird. I tested this earlier. Can you start? No. Well, I guess I'll figure that during the checkpoint as well. But it should work as intended, unless I'm doing something dumb. Maybe one of the files we deleted messed something up. I'll look at that later. Sorry about that. But yeah, that was demo 1. What was demo 2? Oh yeah, so writing JSX. So basically, in our app.js, we've written some code here, just demonstrating it. Here's a basic example of JSX. So there's just a p tag with some text, and then here it is with nesting. And like I was saying, this is much more readable, the multi-line. The only trick is though, like the caveat, you need to wrap it in parentheses because of the way JavaScript inserts the semicolon. It might break your code or not work as intended. So wrapping it in parentheses tells JavaScript exactly when the JSX starts and ends. So yeah, they do the same. You need to do the same thing here in your return. Actually, I haven't gotten to this yet, but in a function when you return JSX, and this is a very much multi-line JSX block here, you need to wrap it in parentheses again. and end it in a semicolon. So that's JSX, or simple JSX so far. Okay, and you can also combine JavaScript into your JSX to get more dynamic functionality. You can insert variables into your HTML, or well, JavaScript, JSX here. So the John Smith would be injected into the HTML at runtime. So that's how you get JavaScript in here. The syntax is just curly braces, and then it can be a variable, it can be a function, it can be an object, it can be an expression, it can be a chain of if, else if statements, anything as long as it results in a single value. That can be anything. Okay. I guess I could slow it down. Oh, okay. Well, you're going to get a lot of time. No. You don't need to install anything yet. There's going to be, I guess I should have talked about this. We should have talked about it. There's going to be checkpoints. I'll give you like 10 to 15 minutes to go through what I've talked about and what I've done in the demos. So in like 5 minutes, we'll have this checkpoint, and you'll install Node, you'll install NPM, you'll create the React project, and me and Nishant will be here to walk you through that in those 10 to 15 minutes. And then once that's done, then we'll continue back with some more content and finish up with a second checkpoint, which usually is, we'll get done like at 4:30 or something, I don't know. And then you'll have a whole hour that will be here for you to ask questions. So that's part of the reason why I'm going kind of fast, because I want you guys to start on it instead of just watching me talk about it. So I'm sorry if that seemed overwhelming. I will slow it down anyways, but my bad for not talking about that. And yes, I'll create a demo lesson as well. Actually, I can do that now. Basically, it would also work here. Okay, so it's npx create React app and then demo. So that should work. Oh, that's good enough. Okay, you can't name it in camel face. In kebab case. So this is how it works when you do the npx command. You can see it's creating it here. And I'll let that run for a second. Oh, okay, yeah. And then you just cd into it. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to slow it down. Sorry, guys. Okay, so main syntax here, curly braces, whatever you want. This just goes over what I talked about. It can be anything you can think of as long as it results in a single value. I mean, it could be a huge JSX value, but that's still a single value to be inserted between these curly braces. So that is how you insert JavaScript into your JSX. And attributes, so if you guys are familiar with that, something like class or ID or href, those are HTML attributes. And the only new thing here is that in JSX, since we're writing in a JavaScript file, class is a reserved keyword, obviously. So instead of using class as an attribute, you need to use class name. Because if you use class, it might mess things up. I think you're defining class when you're obviously not. You can try pressing enter, probably. I've done that before. Sometimes it freezes or it's waiting for your input. But yeah, if your readout ever seems stuck and it's not doing anything, just press enter. And if not, let me know. That's what we're here for, to ask about and debug it. So yeah, so these are the attributes. Everything, I'm pretty much every attribute is the same except class, just as class is a reserved keyword. Which terminal do we? So if you're on Windows, you should run it as administrator just in case. So you'd open a command prompt as administrator. I think you do that in like the taskbar at the bottom left. And then for Mac, I think it can be any terminal. You can use the built-in terminal in Visual Studio Code, or you can open up an actual terminal and install it there. And as long as you're an administrator on Windows or a terminal in Mac, you can do where node and where npm, so you can check where they're installed. If you did install them, but then your code editor, for some reason, can't see that they exist. So that's another useful thing to use to debug it. And this also is in the document that I provided. So it's in, I don't remember where it is. Oh yeah, there it is. So it's in this document. I guess I'll show it just in case. But yeah, open a command prompt as admin, administrator. There's a link to download. And yeah, just remember version 16. Okay, so styling. So you can also style your JSX just like you would normal HTML, but the format's different. It's just different because class changed the class name. That's really the only difference. You can also do it inline, or you can do it with a separate file. Personally, I believe, or I like having a separate file for your CSS. I think it's more readable. And we're also going to be using a separate file because that's what the beginner track is learning with. But you can do it either way. So to use CSS with your JSX, you just add the import statement at the top of your file. I believe it can be at the top of any JavaScript file in your source folder. So it can be, so here's what you guys will see. It can be in any of these. Like see, here's an import statement for a CSS file. The index.js also has an import statement. So it's just at the top of the index file. Or whatever JavaScript file you're working with. Usually it's at the top of the one that it's going to be styling for, because that's the most readable. That way you can see where the styling is coming from. Now, let's see if this demo will work. I think it might. Yes, it will. Cool. I don't know what happened with our lesson 3 example, but there you go. This is what you guys should see. This means that you have Node installed correctly, you have npm installed correctly, and you successfully created a test project in React. To uncd, yeah. Yep, it is cd space and then 2 periods. Yeah, you're correct. Thank you. Okay, so that's that. This is what it looks like when you run it. And if I change something, in here, then, oh, closed. Didn't. Interesting. I don't know why that isn't working. Well, you can do it in app. It's the wrong app. Sorry, it's very confusing because I created a new one. So yeah, okay. So if you change the text in the p tag, it'll update it in real time here. So you don't need to like refresh your page or anything. So that's what the live reload functionality is. That's nice. Okay. So tell you style. Yep. Okay, so demo 3. Variables in JSX and CSS styling. So sorry, a lot of files here. I should have not opened them all. So in our lesson 3 code on GitHub, in our app.js, we have examples of the basic JSX as well as JavaScript in your JSX. So here's an example with just curly braces, and then we're using the multi-line JSX statement. And all it's doing is at runtime, React looks at this, sees there's a variable, and it just inserts whatever's here. So in this case, it's JSX. It inserts it between the curly braces. So yeah, that's how that's how JavaScript works. It could be a function call, or it could be like this, something like that, and it would render. Actually, I don't know if it would render false or 0, but you can check on that. So yeah, that's variables, and then the CSS also in the app.js. You can see they have a class name for app link, class name for app, all this type of stuff. Just remember to not use the class attribute. You have to use class name attribute. And then see the CSS file, it doesn't know where it's being imported to. It doesn't know if it's styling an HTML document or a ReactJS document. So it's encapsulated in that way, which is nice. And allows you to style just like you would normally if you were just using, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. So the CSS doesn't change unless you're doing inline. Obviously, then it would go here in your JavaScript file. So that's demo 3. Is the pace better? Do you have any questions? Everyone good? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we're at checkpoint 1. So this is when you guys should try installing Node and PM and setting up your React project, and just create some very basic JSX variables here. Play around with it, try it out, and yeah, I'll set a timer for like 10 minutes. And please use the slides in Brightspace as a reference to help. And me and Nishant will be here to answer any questions you guys have. So yeah, talk about it. Sorry for everyone who already just heard what I had to say. But for the people online, we just finished checkpoint 1, and now we're heading into custom JSX. So custom JSX is really powerful because you can have reusable code, something like a button. You can change the code of your custom tag, but then it'll update automatically to all the places that you use this tag like 50 times and 50 different files or something like that, or 50 different places in your code. This is the syntax for it. That's how you create a custom tag. It doesn't have to be self-closing, but it normally is. And yeah, use it just like any other HTML tag, but it's obviously not one of the default ones it provides to you. And each HTML tag must be in a separate file, just like how the app.js is a separate file for the app tag, which is used here in the index.js file. And yeah, we'll give you a basic template that is referring to the component.js file. So this, let me move this down. This is what we give you. It does look different from the app.js file. And the reason for that is because there's 2 ways to create a custom tag. So this is the basic way, I guess you would say. It allows you to do some computation and then return JSX. That's what a function does. And that works great as a basic custom tag. But we'll talk about a lot more of the functionality that React provides next week. But for more complex, they're actually called components. Components, custom tags, same thing. For more complex custom tags, you will use a class that extends the React component class. And we'll do some fancy stuff with this later. But the only difference is you can have your code here, your JSX here, and then same as before, you would just return wrapped in parentheses your JSX. So just for this week, if you want to use this component.js template file, just put your code in this function here, the render function, same way that you would put it in the app function. So you can do either way, whichever works for you. Just know that in the future, I think most of your components and custom tags will be done this way. But under the hood, React sees both as equal. That's pretty cool. Okay, so that's what we meant by basic template. Okay, demo program 4, which is custom JSX. I kind of already highlighted that. Basically, React sees that there's a custom tag here, and then it sees that there's an import statement. So that's how it knows to go to the app.js file, and then it just runs this function. That's basically it. And like I said before, I make sure to export it. Otherwise, they're not going to be linked up. And yeah, code goes here, returning JSX goes here, wrapped in the parenthesis. But then here's the alternative, more complex way of doing it. We'll get into the other stuff next week. So that is demo 4. Okay, and that was literally it. We're now at the end of checkpoint 2. So the goal should be, I believe I said it here. So create, add, and test some custom HTML JSX tags. Basically, that means create a new JS file and a new CSS file. So you can model it off of the app.js and the app.css, just something like that. You can see how they're linked. See the CSS is imported there. That's how that's linked. And then the app.js, like I said before, is linked to the index.js. So you're going to need to add a new import statement for your new tag. You'll put it, I believe you should be able to put it in here. Earlier, I tried to put a p tag, but it didn't work. So maybe there's something wrong with that. I'm not sure. But yeah, that'll be how you add your custom component. So yeah, you can do it based off the app.js or based off the component.js. You can try both. You could make 2 components, to be honest, or you could make 2 custom tags, do it both ways, just to get familiar with it. But yeah, I think honestly the app.js is more straightforward for here, for this example, because we're not dealing with any extra functionality. This is just the basic functionality that we've covered this week. So let me move this. So yeah, experiment with what we've covered. Add JavaScript to your JSX. Add some CSS styling to your JSX with class name attribute, not the class attribute, and stuff like that. Am I muted? Oh yeah. That sorry. It's in the GitHub. I'm on this. What I'm looking at right now, besides this project that I just created, this is all. These are all accessible from the lesson 3 branch of the GitHub. Good question. Okay. Am I recording? Yes. So yeah, that's basically it. That's checkpoint 2. And yeah, and the files here are going to be a great help. That way you don't have to start from scratch. You can see what you need to do, have something to base it on. And with that, you're free to leave whenever. If you would like to, you can give us feedback on the lecture. I'll know for next time to slow the pace down. Sorry about that. But yeah, if you have any questions, we have open review hours, like I said, every Wednesday, 6 to 7. Or you can ask us literally anytime on Slack. So thank you all for coming online and in person. I appreciate you guys being here. And yeah, so it's 4:30. So for the next hour, we will be here to answer any questions you guys have.